Hey, this is Mira Beck, the founder of Overnight Success Publishing and host of Overnight Success TV. And today I'm bringing you super special guest for our next interview, my friend Dave Dickson. Hey, Dave, welcome to the show.
Hey, glad to be here.
Yeah, so I'm so happy you made the time to come here because I just have to share right out of the gate the story of how you and I met.
Yes.
Because if it wasn't for you and that one phone call, none of this would have probably happened, and my whole video production business.
Thank you.
I know that I probably would still be shooting weddings. So you were my very first client for the seminar business, and we had a phone call where you were looking for a photographer,
Right.
or for videographer, and the hotel gave your event planner a contact for a photography studio by mistake. It was my ex-brother-in-law working there who gave her my information, and the very first call I got from her was how much for a day of recording.
Yes.
And I still remember at that time I went from $12 at a help desk job to $25 as a wedding videographer, and videographer fresh out of school. And so I told her 25 an hour, and she told me he's not gonna hire you for that. I'm like, okay, like what should I charge him? At least 50.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay. So I doubled my prices like that very second. So that was my, like diving into sales without being in sales, because she just helped me to double my prices. And then we did your event and, met a bunch of people that were in this whole Dan Kennedy world, and you were in that world, and the rest was history. And from that very moment, I think if I built a tree of my clients, everything would have, pointed to that thing. So very special. I really appreciate you, and I'm glad you're here. And you guys are up for a really pleasant experience for sure, because we're gonna dive into something that is, really important in every business, and that's sales.
Yeah.
It's a horrible word that people always look at it like, oh my God, I'm not a salesman. But when I found out that I'm in a business of selling and marketing my video production business instead of being in the video production business, everything changed.
Yeah.
I pretty much quadrupled my business overnight, and it was just a phenomenal experience. So I'm excited about that conversation, but before that, just like with every guest on the show, I would love for you to share your story with our audience.
Okay.
Just kind of from the beginning, with the foundation of where you grew up and what environment you came from, up to your retirement and beyond.
Sure. Okay. Well, first off, thanks for that nice introduction, and it's been one of the great joys of my life to watch you grow your business. I've been blessed to be just a small part of that journey. Obviously, you've done all the hard work, but to see you go from that first get together, that first event where you had confidence in your skills as a videographer and a photographer, but your learning curve was just straight up in business. Yeah. And you just soaked everything up and applied it. And I've watched as your fees have gone up. I write the checks, but I'm happy to, because you've earned it. You're incredibly good, and you understand how you can help your clients. And really, ultimately, that's what sales is about. And we'll talk about sales, but I'll give you the nutshell of my career. How I got in sales: I was in the Air Force. This is a million years ago. I was in the Air Force. Had a couple children, first child coming along, was getting out, was driving race cars semi-professionally, and I needed a real job. And a friend of mine said, Dave, go down to the local Dodge dealership. You'd be a great car salesman. I go, get away from me. I'm not going to be some slimy car salesman. He goes, no. Go down to the Dodge dealership. I think you'd be good. So I was making $700 a month in the Air Force. This guy finally talks me into it. I go down to the Dodge dealership one Saturday, I make $1,500.
Wow.
I said, there is nothing slimy. This is a respectable profession. I can do this. So I started selling, was very successful, top salesman every month for that I sold. Very rapidly in my 20s, became a sales manager, used car sales manager, new car sales manager, ultimately a finance manager, general manager. So I was running car dealerships by the time I was in my early to mid 20s. ran car dealerships all over the San Francisco Bay Area, all over the Tampa Bay area in Florida, which is where I'm from originally. I was the dealer group that I was ultimately with in the Tampa Bay area was one of the first groups to merge with AutoNation. AutoNation wanted me to move to Fort Lauderdale and be the national sales training director. I went down there 3 times. Didn't see an opportunity there that was exciting to me. It was very corporate, very stifled, and so I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I had a friend who had a couple of auto repair shops, and he kept bugging me. I'd known him socially for many years. He kept bugging me, Dave, come help me do something with this. I would, I would help him. He said, I think you can, with your experience, help me grow this thing. He had a couple of shops. Every time he'd open a couple more, everything would go wrong. There was no structure, and it would fall apart. So, I took one shop. The year before I got there, it did $250,000 in sales. The first year we were there, we did $1 million.
Wow.
And it was easy. Yeah. It would say please, say thank you, do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
So from there, once I got that figured out, I started growing pretty rapidly. I had 21 shops of my own.
I remember that. That was quick though, right?
Within 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, within 5 years.
Yeah.
And along the way, I would go to conferences and stuff, and people would say, Dave, how did you do it so fast? And I started telling people how to do it, and finally somebody said, Dave, you really ought to charge for that information. That's how I got in the info marketing world. And so I started charging for it, and that was fun, and that was exciting, and I enjoyed teaching. Something most people don't know about me is my degree, my formal degree is actually in occupational education, so teaching.
All right.
So I started doing that. That was exciting. I had fun. I helped a lot of repair shop owners improve their business, make a lot of money. And then I sort of, at 2007, 2008, sort of semi-retired.
Yeah.
Said, I'm gonna kick back a little bit. I kept a core group of clients that I really loved and developed relationships with, but I didn't work really hard.
Yeah.
And then along came a young student who some of you have met in other interviews, Josh Johnson. He actually bought my service writer training sales course out of his own pocket, had tremendous success, so much success that I said, I want to be involved with him.
Wow.
So that got me excited, got me back into the business, if you will, back into the building an organization. I went out, recruited an enterprise level software developer. We created a piece of software that, in a sense, automated all the stuff that I was teaching one-on-one.
Gotcha.
And now that's what we do. And that's taken off, a huge company. We have over 2,000 clients all over across the country, auto repair shops that we automate their marketing. Their emails, text messages, postal mail, everything on automatic. We just bring customers into their shops.
That's cool.
So that's my story.
That's really cool, though.
From when the dinosaurs showed up and the earth cooled off to today.
So awesome. And obviously you have experience in growing businesses and sales, marketing, running businesses, thinking outside the box, creating like this whole software thing. It was definitely like, you fulfilled some need, right? I'm sure
Absolutely.
that you looked at what they need and then you build it for them.
Absolutely.
Which that would be one key point we can take away from this interview is don't focus so much on what you think people want, but ask them, do surveys, talk to people, figure out what they want, and then give it to them. So.
The biggest mistake, it's funny because you mentioned that with product, the biggest mistake I see most people make when they're starting a business is they try and come up with some unique product that nobody else is offering. If nobody else is offering it, it's probably, unless you've got a lot of money for research and development and really want to be a pioneer, stick with something that is a proven need.
Yeah.
If you're just getting into business, just do a better job of it.
Yeah.
And
better. Yeah.
And so that's, and you mentioned we want to talk about sales. I'll segue that right into the sales process. I tell people when they ask me about sales, I tell them 2 things. I say, when I sell, I use my words to get people to do something that they had absolutely no intention of doing before they talked to me. That's over here on one hand. Now I'm going to say something that sounds like just the opposite. In the best sales situation, what you're doing is you're not convincing somebody to do something they don't want to do. You're convincing them to do something they already wanted to do and just giving them permission. Now, those sound like two absolutely opposite things, but that's the magic in sales.
Yeah.
If you can pull, you've got to uncover the need. And in a lot of people, it's not right at the top of their mind. If you're an auto repair shop owner and you've got parts not showing up and you've got mechanics calling in sick and you've got cars falling off of lifts, you have a need for marketing,
Yeah.
but that's not what's right here in
Sure.
front of your face.
Yeah.
So if I talk to you, we're gonna scratch a little bit and go, yes, beyond all those fires, I need more customers. Okay, great. You need more customers. Now, let me show you some things we can do to fill that need.
Yeah.
And then, so the hard part is to uncover that need, to find that thing that they don't
Yeah.
know that they need. And then the easy part of sales is just to give them solutions.
Sure.
And does
Yeah,
that,
it totally makes sense, and what I'm seeing also in a lot of what people may be thinking, because when you're a one-man operation, it's exactly how you described it. Everything is falling apart, and your analogy is cars because that's your business, but it's like in every business, it doesn't matter.
Hair on fire.
Substitute car for something else, and
Hair
it's
on
your
fire.
business.
Absolutely.
So I think what I see a lot of the issues is the consistency, because you may say, "Oh, yeah, I'll do it," and then you do something for a couple of days, and then you don't do it anymore because the fires, right?
Right.
And I remember I think Dan Kennedy was talking about some of the consistency where you're supposed to prime the pipe and feed the pipeline no matter what. Like even if
Right.
you're super busy, everything is great, and you don't need any more customers, you continue to put people into the funnel and into the pipeline, right?
That's a huge point, absolutely. And one of the my partner John, who's the enterprise level developer who wrote all the software that is the foundation of this current business, is incredibly good at building systems and making sure that when you do something that works, you only do it once, and then you build it into a computer program or a people process, so you don't have to do it again.
Yeah.
You don't have to remember. He always says, if you rely on your brain, it's not going to work. You're going to forget.
Yeah.
But if you systematize the process of getting customers to the point where you rarely have to think about it, oh my gosh, your life gets so much easier. And to take that one step further too, which you just mentioned about being, I'm sure a lot of people watching they're the business.
Yes.
One of the things I've been blessed with the ability to do, and have found to be more and more important the older I get and the more business I do, is that I surround myself with really good people. And I dedicate at least a couple months a year, spread out over the year, to just sourcing good people. You can't have enough good people. And Peter Senge, a great thinker on business, has a great analogy. He says, you get all the great people on the bus, and then you figure out where they sit.
Yeah.
If I can get a great person in my organization, and a great person means a technical skill and a fantastic attitude.
Yeah.
If I can get those two things, and even if I can just get the fantastic attitude
Yeah, you
in
can
some
teach them the
cases,
skill, right.
I can teach them the skill.
Yeah.
You can't have too many of those people.
Yeah.
And the more of those people you get, the easier life gets.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit, because I just experienced it in the last few months. I hired a guy to run the office for me. We have several people that we use as the subcontractors on the road. We have a couple other people working from the studio for graphic design, all that stuff. And it took me 10 years to pull the plug finally and actually do it and save up enough money for a couple months so I know we can do it, and then figure out the rest of it. And I wish, of course, I'd done it 10 years ago, right?
Yep.
Because it is, we're more productive, we get more done, everything is awesome. But I totally agree with the whole system, because I realize, I just rented a ballroom a couple of weeks ago at the hotel next door,
Yep.
so we can just go and set everything up without the pressure of event coming up the next day.
Yep.
And so we can build systems, take pictures, write stuff down, create a manual, doing all that. And it was so worth it.
Yeah.
So how do you get past that point where you are the single, solopreneur, entrepreneur sitting at home thinking, I need somebody, but I don't know if I can afford it. And it's kind of the chicken and egg, and you sometimes may
gosh.
never break that cycle. So what would be your advice to some of those?
That's, in business, there's some easy stuff and there's some hard stuff. And there's this little gap that you have to leap over, and it's a leap of faith, and it's like that big or it's that big. This is one that, as a business owner, this is what makes you different from the rest of the world, is you've got to take that leap over that gap. And I'm as guilty as anybody. I've disciplined myself now. Like next week I'm doing a hiring process, and I'm going to hire probably 6 people. And so my expenses are going to jump, but I know from experience that my revenue is going to catch up fast, or I'm going to get rid of those people. So as a business owner, it's a leap of faith, but you also have control to expand it and contract it. You're in total control. But it really is, there's no magic formula to that, other than just to take a leap and watch it work. And decide quickly that if it's not working, correct it. Because, I mean, if I hire 6 people, I'll find 2 or 3 people that meet my standards in that group. And it's funny too, because I'm not manipulative about it. I mean, when I hire them, I tell them, I say, look, I'm hiring 6 people for 3 positions. And it's funny, last time I did that, one person said, oh, that's horrible. You mean I have to compete? And they walked out, and I said goodbye. But another guy said, great, I'm going to be one of the 3.
That's cool.
That's the guy that I want. And that's what you know, I mean, it's a competition. It's the ultimate competition for us business owners. You know, I tell everybody, oh, you know, I got a little risk, I got to come in and compete for a job. I got all the risk. If this doesn't work, I go broke. So it's getting good people, and it's just taking that leap. And the good news is, you find out pretty quickly that it's worth it. I mean, you've seen it, and my reaction, I went through the same thing. I delayed hiring until I learned how it worked. Now I can't hire enough, because I know I'll sort and sift through, find the people that fit in my organization and do what I need it done. And my organization, I mean, I'm doubling revenue every year that's because really cool. That template works.
So, like, I'm right now looking for a salesperson, right? So, do you have some sort of criteria you can share with us, that how do you hire them and how do you compensate them? What keeps salespeople thick? And
Great question. Great question. When you hire a salesperson, if you're not in sales, because a lot of people watching aren't specifically in sales, and they think, okay, Dave, you got an advantage. You're in sales. You can hire salespeople. I give the same advice to sales or non-sales people hiring. When you sit down with the person in the first 30 seconds to a minute, do you feel attracted to them? Do you feel interested in them? Do you feel warm? Do you feel positive? Do you feel uplifted? If so, that's somebody that you might want to give a chance to in your sale. If you don't feel attracted, interested, energized within the first 30 seconds to a minute, no. But if you, and important to remember, in the hiring process, what I've learned is all I can do is weed out the people that absolutely positively won't work. And narrow it down to the people to narrow it down to the people that might probably have a good chance. Then I bring those people. I tell people, I use an analogy. I say it's like football. It's like spring training. I said, when I bring them on, I tell everybody this. I said, I'm going to bring you on. I'm going to throw you some footballs. If you catch the football, you made the team. If you drop the football, sorry, you're not going to make the team. And that's how it goes. Now, as far as compensation, real simple. Figure out what you want that salesperson to accomplish and pay them for that. Every salesperson should be paid on performance. And you have to be really, for instance, I just went through this in my business. We had salespeople, a group of salespeople, and we paid them on selling our customers stuff. And they sold our customers a lot of stuff. But our cancellations were up there. And we said, wait a minute, that's not what we want. We want a long-term relationship and a strong business where a customer comes in and stays forever. So pounding them on the head and selling them a bunch of stuff isn't working. So we totally switched our salespeople's compensation. Same salespeople, but we switched the compensation from a commission on selling stuff to they get paid more the longer a customer stays with us. Guess what? Our cancellation rate went in half in half again, and it's still going down.
Wow, that's awesome.
So, and sales, and that's typical. Salespeople, some people get mad at salespeople because the good ones are like bulldogs, and they go after the sale. But they're also motivated by compensation. If you get your compensation plan right with the right salespeople, you'll never have a problem. Pay for performance.
That's really cool. Do you, let's just say, in the competitive market, they want some salary. Do you do any small salary plus bonuses, or do you do like draw against some stuff, or like how would you logistically structure it in the beginning when you're trying to recruit somebody?
I don't like salaries of any kind.
Me neither.
But I find that $500 a week or so, sometimes that's necessary, or a reassuring. It would be, and if I can do it, it's great as a draw against commission. So I can prove to them that, look, you're going to make so much more than that. If you make your draw, we're not meant for each other anyway. So that's the best structure. The other thing, though, and this is, I'm glad you asked that because this is an important point. That's the long-term relationship with pay. If I've got somebody that I think is a good salesperson or potentially a great salesperson, they have no reason to trust me. They haven't worked with me yet. So I will guarantee them 2 or 3 months of income. Matter of fact, a lot of times the salary negotiations go like this. What do you need to make? Okay, you need to make $6,000 a month? Great, I'll guarantee you $6,000 a month for 60 days. After that, this is the pay plan you're on. And I'll show you if you do what you need to do, you'll make that or more. But if you don't know me, you don't trust me, you say you need $6,000 a month, I'll give you $6,000 a month for 60 days or until I decide that it's not going to be a good fit. And then, that way, if I think somebody's good, I want to remove the obstacles to them coming on board, and I certainly don't want money to be an obstacle because in the big picture, a good salesperson is going to make me hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. $6,000 a month is nothing.
That's really cool advice. So thanks for sharing this. So now let me put you on the spot.
Okay. Okay.
So we always like to, and I didn't tell you that up front, so this is real live TV, right? We always share some resources. So obviously if somebody is watching this and they are in the auto repair business, you guys have the best training for service writers. Or if they know obviously an auto repair shop owner or somebody in their close circle of friends, whatever, where can they go to find more information about this?
Well, just go to MyShopManager.com. That's MyShopManager.com. And you'll find all kinds of information about the automation tool that automates the marketing for the shop. And then there's all kinds of contact. If you want to contact us, just hit one of the contact buttons, send in the information. But it's MyShopManager.com. Really cool, exciting tool. And fun to be here and talk about sales because one last piece. There's a lot of people that get into business and they think that their business is their technical specialty, video, auto repair, whatever. No, everything is sales. Everything is sales. And you can sell anything to anybody. Now, if you sell a bad product, the customers are going to wake up and run away. If you sell a great product, they're going to wake up and stick around. But everything is sales. Even if you don't have a tangible product, you're selling an idea. And so, from my position, obviously slanted a little bit, everything is sales, and so it's exciting to be here talking about sales.
That's awesome. Well, you maybe thought that was putting you on the spot because I was gonna do this My Shop Manager as well. But this putting on the spot part is I know you have a variety of resources and things you've created. Would you be willing to share some, maybe a sample ad to get the phone ringing when somebody's looking for a salesperson? Or some other resources that would be helpful to anybody, not just auto repair shop owners, right?
Absolutely. I love helping people. The reason I'm here today, I love the saying, we stand on the shoulders of giants. The reason I'm here today is because a lot of cool people, a lot of very successful, very wealthy, successful people were willing to help me out when I was finding my way.
Yeah.
So I would be more than happy to.
Awesome.
to
So we'll talk about the logistics of that
Yeah.
after, and maybe
Yeah.
do like a download link or some sort
Yeah.
of link,
Yeah.
whatever,
Absolutely.
under the video. That's
Yeah.
gonna go live next week, really. So we'll have a little bit of time. And then quick little rapid fire to end up. I wanna know maybe 2 or 3 books that you think everybody should have on their bookshelf and read more than once.
Sure. Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
That's a good one.
That is one of the foundational pieces of success
Yeah.
in sales. How to talk to people, how to relate to people. Gosh, if all you ever did was read that book, you'd be light years ahead. Napoleon Hill, just about anything by Napoleon Hill. It's funny, if you read his material and then you read virtually every self-help and positive mental attitude book that's come since,
Yeah.
it's all there. It all goes back to getting your thinking right about money and success.
And that book I read every year, once a year. And every year I read it, I find totally different things in it.
Absolutely.
It's like one of those books that just...
And again, I stress, not to take it away from any of the authors out there that are working hard to clarify, but my goodness, you read that book, it's all there.
Yeah,
it's all there. And then beyond that, I mean, really, those 2 are great. Any other books that relate to the topics of sales or running businesses, I look at, and here's what I do, and I would recommend this. I learned this from a good friend of mine, Victor Ching. I read the first chapter or 2 of a lot of books.
Yeah.
And because most authors, hate to say it, they deliver all the goods in the first chapter or 2.
Cool.
And then they just repeat themselves and it gets boring. But if it's interesting, I'll read the whole book.
Yeah.
So what I would suggest to people is, beyond those 2 core books, look at anything that's interesting, but don't feel like you have to read the whole darn book when you start it.
That's cool. How about some people in your life? Who have you been influenced by the most?
Oh, wow. There's mentors in the car business which are specific, which I won't go into detail, but Dan Kennedy, Bill Glazer, Ryan Dice, big thinker about marketing. Again, some Alan Ayers, who was my mentor in the auto repair business. But those are some of the names, particularly for somebody watching in info marketing. Dan Kennedy, Bill Glazer, like I said, Ryan Dice has been huge with the funnel marketing process. Those are the names that just come right to the top of my mind. And forgive me to anybody who's helped me that I didn't mention.
There's always a lot, and I always say you can learn something from anybody you meet in your life. And
Absolutely.
That's kind of how it is. But we've mentioned Dan Kennedy and the GKIC world several times because that's how you and I even met, pretty much, too. Or that's where you got me into, anyways. Now that's how we met, but you introduced me to that world, and I've never looked back. It's been great.
Well, and I think that's an important point for anybody watching, and it applies to me today as much as it did when I was starting out. You're only limited by your circle of influence. I mean, if I sit in a room and talk to myself all day, I'm pretty dumb. But if I tap into networks of smart people, like you said, I can't help but learn something.
Yeah,
so whoever it is, if you're out there and you want to grow, don't sit there and try and figure it out all by yourself. Tap into networks. And another point, and you and I have both experienced this, we've both invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in our education.
Yep.
You know, I mean, before we went live, we were talking about a $3,500 3-day seminar that we were talking about going to. Don't be shy about investing in your education. I mean, don't think you're saving money when you don't go to that seminar where that guy is teaching you exactly how to build the funnel for your thing, because you're not saving money. You're hurting yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
Why do you, I mean, you're already retired now, you came back again, like, what's your big why at this stage of your life? Like, why do you get up in the morning? And not only that, but like, whenever you're supposed to come over here to shoot videos, whatever, you're like here at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, like, you look like you've been up for, hours and always have good attitude. So, like, Why do you get out of bed?
Well, I get out of bed about between 4:30 and 5:30 every day.
Wow.
Get an early start. I love that. And it's funny. The why is a good question. When I started in my career, I came from a lower middle class background, and my fear was I would never have enough money. And so for the first half of my career, I was driven by pure fear.
Yeah.
No matter how much money I made, I needed to make more. And I made a good amount of money, but it was fear, fear, fear. I don't have enough. I don't have enough. And then I went through some losses and changes in my life, and I realized that, you know what? I'm always going to have enough money, and I don't need to be. Fear is a good motivator, but it isn't the best motivator. And so then it flipped to, gosh, this is fun helping people. And you know, I was talking to somebody about a legacy the other day. I said, well, you want to see my legacy? Pull up one of my old client lists and call some of my old clients and ask how their lives have changed as a result of some information they got from me. Their lives, their families' lives, their kids, their grandkids. That makes me feel good. That's a warm spot in my heart. And that has just magnified for me, because what gets me up now is, for the first time, I'm not the guy in my business. I'm more and more of an advisor, and I've got two young, hungry guys that are doing all the hard work every day, and I'm just providing a little bit of information here and an idea there, and I get to sit back and watch them build their empire. That brings me just a boatload of joy.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
And the last question I have for you is, you know, this is Overnight Success TV, and it's all about success. And of course, everybody has a different definition of success. So what does success mean to you personally?
Well, it goes to what I was just saying. A lot of it is that wonderful feeling of just helping other people and watching them grow. But in a more tangible thing too, and because I know a lot of people watching are thinking about the financial aspects of it, success is not having to think about money, not having to think about it. I mean, if anything I want to do, money's not a limitation. And you know, I use an analogy and I love it. It was given to me. I forget who gave it to me. I wish I could remember specifically because it's so important. He told me, he said, Dave, he said, money is like the Mississippi River. It's this huge, huge river. It's always there. He said, now you can go down to the river with an eyedropper or a tanker truck. It doesn't matter how much you take out of the river is always going to be there. You can take out as much as you're smart enough to take out, is how he used to say it. And once I really got that in my bones, life got really good, because that river's always out there.
That's really cool.
And so,
it's the abundance mindset, and I love that. You should definitely have that.
But to be fair to everybody listening, it was an evolution. Started at fear, grew to abundance. I'm blessed.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Dave, thank you so much for being here. That was awesome. And for those of you watching, I hope you enjoyed it. You got a few nuggets out of it. Of course, remember that you are not in business of making your widgets or providing your service, but you're in business of sales and marketing of that widget or service that you're doing. So if that alone helps shift your mindset a little bit after watching this episode, I think we've accomplished what we wanted to accomplish. Also, I always remind you, make sure to implement something that you've learned, because the difference between success and failure is implementation. And if you don't do anything with the information, then obviously Dave and I just had a good time here, but it didn't help you in any way. So go out, do something, implement something, and wake up and be successful.